Welcome back to the Summit 7 America Region Qualifiers. Thunderbirds going up against isGG Game 2 on the way as Thunderbirds somehow after a tipsy-toppy game 1 are able to pull out a win. So isGG are on the back foot and their streak is maybe going to be broken. They've been running pretty hot lately. We'll see if Thunderbirds are able to 2-0 it. I'm Mike Loris. Going to be joined by MRP Dota for this second game. That was some game, dude. Thunderbirds, not comfortable with that, I'm sure, but a win's a win.
Friggin' Ursa, man. I play that hero a lot, and that's the story of all my losses. It's triggering. Dota.
That's why you lose.
I mean, isGG to some extent feel like that kind of gatekeeper tier, where it's like there's a point where they can beat tier 1 teams, and there's a point where they lose to them. But as a tier 1 team, as a second place TI team from last year, you know, one simple player change of a player who's arguably maybe even an upgrade, and no disrespect to Moo at all, who's obviously awesome. I mean, Thunderbirds, you absolutely to be frank, you absolutely need to beat this team to be where you want to be. And you know, I know the Summit is not necessarily a major or TI, but it's definitely a tournament that these teams want to attend, a tournament that they want to test their mettle at. But interesting first kind of thing to note in this draft is they left Alina in the pool for CCNC. isGG, they're going to go for their athlete Earth Spirit instead, and you kind of mentioned how well he's been playing on that and just in roaming in general. So not deterred by the aggressive tri-lane shenanigans of game 1, they'll go for their roamer in the first phase.
Now, I was going to mention, like, CCNC had a really tough last game. He was able to make kind of a mid-game comeback with the hero and was able to do quite a bit by the end of it, despite the fact that they did lose. But I do think that was mostly because Thunderbirds, they had CCNC's number throughout the entire draft. They were able to just knock out his most comfortable heroes, force the only last really viable pick to be under a lot of pressure. And this time it seems like they're just scrapping that. Now, if the Lina is going to be picked up here for isGG, it will be up against a Nyx Assassin, who is going to have a pretty good matchup in the mid game versus the Lina when the two of them are most likely going to be interacting with one another. But you know, getting mana burned hurts really, really badly as the Lina. Spike Carapace is not a game you want to play when you're looking at Laguna Blade and Nyx Assassin. So Thunderbirds, maybe as far as that is concerned, will be happy with this Nyx Assassin setup if it is going to be a Lina pick. Plus, they always can, you know, get a TA kind of counter pick and force isGG into kind of suboptimal matchups that way. They definitely do have options, but I do want to see them still focus their attention in the bans towards CCNC, because it seems like the better CCNC does, the better the team does, and vice versa. Obviously, we saw that in the last game.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's interesting for them to go for the Nyx so early. To me, I don't know, maybe they have a plan behind it, but in a vacuum, nice against the Earth Spirit. You can sit around under the cover of Vendetta, and if the Earth Spirit's a little bit predictable with his kicks, you can get the easy impale or spike carapace into impale combo off. So Earth Spirit can really, you know, have his kind of intentions thwarted by the Nyx. But it is interesting for me to see them go for that hero so early on. They can, of course, flex it back to the 4 position if the draft warrants them doing so later on. But same bans as all 4 games, for the one from today and the 2 from yesterday from isGG with the Coddle and the Beastmaster. So we'll see if Thunderbirds do end up leaving kind of the Lina in the pool here. There's a lot of setup for the LSA with the Rubik and the Boulder Smash available.
And isGG picking up the Rubik, Earth Spirit, 2 supports in the first phase is always a little bit risky. You can, you know, kind of mitigate that just by picking the best supports like a CM Tree or something like that, CM Earth Spirit, and you definitely get the job done as far as that's concerned. But this Rubik, a pretty good matchup up against the Warlock, has a stun that isn't going to do damage. The Nyx Assassin can't really protect him up against that. And if isGG really want to lock down what they expect to be a Moon offlane Nyx Assassin, picking up someone like a Juggernaut, picking up someone like a Slark, probably two of the big ones if you're going to end up killing a Nyx. So isGG do have a pretty nice safe lane setup that's going to be difficult for Thunderbirds to contest if that is going to be their plan at all. Just a consideration for this opening. Very reactive set of heroes for isGG. I was talking about this in the previous game. It's like, you got to keep open as much as possible. Thunderbirds may have their off lane in the Nyx Assassin, but still, they could go late with this hero. They could try to play a little more aggressive with this hero. It's all good with these opening picks.
Interesting Darkseer ban as well. coming out from their side. Of course, synergizes nicely with the Earth Spirit. You get the magnetize and kick into multiple targets, potentially a silence to follow. So, just a really good set of team fight from them. In the 1v1, if they do opt to go aggro, Nyx generally can trade very well in most 1v1 matchups. Darkseer, though, just throws the Ion Shell, doesn't really care about you. Nyx doesn't really have a way to kill off that creep quickly. And his base regen, although nice, is not really enough to deal with the Ion Shell. So, interesting pick there. I mean, Nyx does have the mana burn, which is nice against high-end game like the Darkseer, but overall, just, I guess, a solid off-laner that doesn't really need much help for snaking. Lifestealer ban going to come out from Thunderbirds, or from isGG, and obviously, synergizes very well with the Nyx early on.
And Lifestealer may have synergy with the Nyx Assassin, but Terrorblade is still in the pool and is going to be guaranteed to not go up against a Darkseer, which is great for the TB. Is definitely a little bit of a risk here. Like, I understand the Lifestealer ban completely. I think I'll be a little bit more of a fan of Lifestealer TB bans over that Troll, who it definitely can sometimes be a substantial threat, but definitely has to work a little bit harder to be dangerous over someone like Terrorblade, who Thunderbirds may be willing to pick up right now. Looking at these supports from isGG, Rubik, and Earth Spirit, very, very utility-heavy heroes, but not really very heavy damage heroes. Fade Bolt, the kick, it doesn't really do a lot of magic damage versus a TB, so it does seem like with that hero still in the pool, would be a really powerful one for Thunderbirds to pick up, even if isGG respond to it with the Lina.
Yeah, and that's the key point, is that the Lina is still in the pool. I still don't hate the Terrorblade. I think maybe if they just take Juggernaut, though, that makes their Nyx Assassin so much better, because the Lifestealer and the Jug are the two heroes that are very resilient to the Nyx gank with the Rage and the Blade Fury. So I could see them just going for the Jug, but they actually take the Lina for themselves here. We'll see what isGG's response is to that. And maybe this allows them to take the Terrorblade thereafter. That's something that you mentioned they're very comfortable with. And now with all this burst off the table, Terrorblade pick is a lot more covered, a lot more slated to do well. That has both the Chaotic Offering and the Nyx front line to help him out. So I think this is a really wise choice from Thunderbirds. We'll see if, often it's like teams, if you're very comfortable with a hero, what do you have to go against it when your opponent picks it? So we'll see what isGG's stance is against their very comfort pick in the Lina.
Well, CCNC's big 2 in Lina TA, both out. Storm Spirit, another hero that we see him play a lot. And let me tell you, you really don't want to be playing Storm Spirit in lane up against a Lina. That is not fun. Nor up against a Nyx Assassin. That is even worse. Puck is the pick instead for the isGG side, as got a relatively even-ish matchup up against the Lina. Still has the same issues versus the Lina and the Nyx Assassin to some extent. And it does seem like isGG are gearing up for a very UR-based game. They're going to hope that this carry player is going to do the vast majority of the damage, because Puck, Rubik, Earth Spirit, again, these are very utility-heavy heroes, but not really damage-heavy heroes. And I'm not sure what isGG are supposed to do if Thunderbirds slam pick a Terrorblade here.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's very good, and it's something that they like quite a bit. There is a good amount of silence on isGG's side, so that's perhaps some of the rationale behind the Puck. Just prevent him from being able to get the Sunder off. But, I mean, you build into a Manta almost every game, so definitely not reliable. See what Thunderbirds go with it. CCNC's Puck, one of his better heroes. I wouldn't say necessarily top 3 or 4, but it's up there. I've definitely seen him perform on it. Very kind of snowball-esque lineup from isGG thus far. It'll be interesting to see what safe laner they choose. Again, it seems like they're lacking a building hitter. Thunderbird's not great in Siege, but they do have the Lina, who's pretty damn good at it once you get the Fiery Soul stacks up, maybe even a Hurricane Pike. But you do have the extra potential for right-click range as well. So they go for the tree end here. So we'll be the Nyx Assassin in the hands of Moon. Clear.
Previously, they ran Moon Centaur with Treant, played by Misery in the offlane, and that was an absolute train wreck up against isGG. But Treant Protector is going to be a pretty reasonable hero here. I mean, there's a lot of utility. There's a lot of ways that isGG can catch up to and kill off a Treant Protector. Lots of chase power between an Earth and a Puck. Tree clearing as well, something that Earthspirit could do pretty well. But still, this defensive pick is going to solidify this lane for the Lina, make it so that isGG, need to pick up a Juggernaut / Slark instead of a Terrorblade if they're ever going to kill this Nyx Assassin. You cannot battle through both the Living Armor and the Spike Carapace without some sort of way of getting rid of that stun through Blade Fury or Dark Pact, and it will be the Dark Pact plan here for isGG. They are going for, as you said, a very, very snowball-y base draft. Heroes still looked for right now. isGG still needs Sneaking's hero, and Thunderbirds, well, they're just looking for that safe lane of theirs as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Slark kind of fits the bill here and is away. They only had Magnetize to deal with the tick from the Dark Pact to deal with that. Very hard to kind of pick a clear favorite in this draft thus far. Both teams have the the inclination to snowball. I guess a lot depends on kind of the first big rotation with either a Dream Coil, Magnetize, Vendetta, things of that nature. The Laguna Blade, most notably so of all those abilities. So we'll see who's kind of gets off to the quicker start. It's gonna be the Abaddon ban coming up from Thunderbird, something they just ran. Definitely understandable with the Slark. You give him just that one extra purge there, and he's almost unkillable.
Hero for Sneaking, saw him run a little bit of Abaddon. I think he was on a Sand King before. Magnus, though, the pick all the way in that 5th box is going to get them some pretty heavy team fight for isGG. A lot of scaling for that Slark as well, but it does seem like isGG are going all in on that Slark, and we were talking about like they are kind of going in all in on Yawar in that 1 position role, and Slark's a decent hero to have in that capacity, but looking at Thunderbirds now with the Lina, now the Anti-Mage, which is an interesting pick, they will have a lot more varied damage dealers, whereas for isGG, they need their team fight to land, it seems, in this game. But Thunderbirds with the Anti-Mage pick, a very nice defensive hero, as the vast majority of isGG is going to be doing just magic damage and not much else. Only the Slark versus Anti-Mage, and Slark doesn't even become a relevant right-clicker until much later in the game. It's going to give Resolution a pretty darn good matchup, but there are still lots of silences, a lot of control here that the Anti-Mage has to worry about.
Yeah, I think early on, though, with the, I talked about kind of how much I like Warlock as a solo support, and he allows, he facilitates roaming elsewhere. I think Anti-Mage, barring a rotation from Earth Spirit and Rubik, he's going to survive almost the entire early game. So I like the pick in that sense. With the Spell Shield against, Earth Spirit, Rubik, Puck, Slark, I guess their rationale is that they're hoping he survives an RP if he gets RP'd. And I think with the Chaotic offering behind him, with the Nyx behind him, and Living Armor and his Spell Shield, he probably should be able to do that unless he's caught all by his lonesome. And yeah, sure, he'll split push at times, but I think the Anti-Mage overall, a pretty darn good pick here. Mana Void going to be very nice versus the Puck and even the Magnus to some extent if he gets farmed.
I actually really like where the Thunderbirds draft has landed. I typically, in this patch, find it really hard to say that the side that has Lina has the inferior draft, because that hero is a little bit silly nowadays. Matchup wise is going to be mostly pretty well off, especially once you mix in the Living Armor in that mid lane as well, and Resolution also with a pretty good matchup. This draft from isGG seems a little bit risky. If this Slark is having at all a rough time, and that involves, having his supports camps blocked, having maybe a dual lane with a tree poking in the bottom lane as well, which is definitely a possibility. You could run into some issues because you just lack the scaling, and you don't really have good enough matchups in the other lanes to kind of make up for that fact. But we'll see. They're going to run into each other for right now, Flea and Moon in the Battle of the Century. There's an Impale, and Cheater, the Warlock's going to show his face as well. Sneaking is going to arrive, but it's just a Magnus. Flea still takes a truckload of damage, is going to be just fine. They do drive away Moon, but Moon has the poor man's shield, he has Tangos, and he has that insane base regen, so it's not really going to bother the Nyx Assassin all that much.
And all the way back to the base, the sad walk for Francis Lee on the Earth Spirit, but he will survive. So no, as you mentioned, no first blood attained. Looks like they're maybe posturing up again for an aggressive lane with this Warlock here bottom, and just going to have Saxa sit top alongside Resolution. Not sure if I like the configuration relative to the opposite, which would have been Tree Nyx and Warlock Anti-Mage, but either way, we'll see how the lanes shake down. It definitely feels like Moon's levels here are pretty important. He is, alongside the Lina, going to be the major hero creating space for Resolution. We does end up getting the rune. Rezo ends up actually stealing one away from the enemy, and we'll be able to grab his as well. So great start for the AM. That's going to mean he gets his poor man's shield right off the bat.
Gonna say isGG kind of tinkering with the idea of making a little bit of a Slark sneaking lane switch, but the Magnus will go up towards the top lane, and as you said, you will have, if you had the Magnus, or the Warlock here rather, up against the Magnus, you get a lot more poke, but Magnus up against Anti-Mage is something that the Anti-Mage is actually kind of okay with. Once he gets to level 3, once he gets a little bit of that mana burn, Magnus without mana really can't stand toe-to-toe with an Anti-Mage, especially when the Anti-Mage has a little bit of help from a Treant who actually is still poking around. So sneaking is going to start things off with a lot less regen. You don't really want to trade too many hits with Sax, especially since Sax actually did go for the seed level 1 instead of that stun out of Invis. A lot more of an aggressive style here from this Treant Protector. And bottom lane, well, this is going to be the challenge here for isGG. They just have to make sure that Yawar is, playing as if he's up against no one for as long as possible, and it does seem like this Slark shouldn't really be in that much trouble up against these heroes in lane.
Yeah, agreed. They definitely have a great defensive support duo as well. It remains to be seen kind of what Saxa and Flea can get done in the early game. It doesn't really feel like there's a lane that's, glaringly obvious for either of them to go to as we mid lane. He's going to body CC and C out. CC does have the Salve, so he'll make it out of Dragon Slave range and use that. But again, we just as proficient as CC&C is on this Lina, so he should have a good time in this mid lane.
Top, sneaking. Leech seeded out, right clicks from Resolution, no mana on the Magnus, and will go down to first blood. Resolution just getting those right clicks off, and that's just the matchup. Like, as Magnus, your survivability comes from the fact that you will have that skewer if shit hits the fan, and in the case of versus Anti-Mage, you will not have it. And Anti-Mage just does so much damage as long as you still have mana. So sneaking, dropping the first blood, and things looking pretty good for the Thunderbirds side. Does seem like Thunderbirds, at least in this match versus the one that they played the other day up against isGG, are actually working with quite favorable lanes.
Yeah, and snaking with maybe a slight oversight as, you die, you want to TP right back to lane, you don't want to miss any of that XP, and it allows Saxa to take his second bounty rune. So none yet for the Magnus. He's already had all of his mana burnt out. He doesn't even have a skewer. He could be in trouble once again. Saxa rotating down from the south. Maybe he overestimates his tankiness a bit with this poor man's shield. And it looks like he'll drop for the second time in about as many minutes as Resolution again, fortunately picking up the last hit.
He tried to chop his way through the trees, but Quelling Blade does have a cooldown, unfortunately, for the Magnus. So now feeding over 2 towards the Anti-Mage. Magnus, with the build that he has right now, the Poor Man's Shield, the Quelling, will be able to go into the jungle if he really feels like he's not getting anything. Though he has died twice now, he is still level 3.5, which is honestly a little bit surprising. Anti-Mage doesn't really have the most poke, nor does the tree. Moon, towards the bottom lane, is going to be forced to put up that Carapace. Will get kicked back, but with the heal from Misery and his natural regen, Moon is actually going to start fighting. That's kind of confident from the Nyx Assassin. Just wants to get full value because they know they're going to Shrine anyway.
Yeah.
And hey, he's at half HP. That's the Nyx Assassin tankiness we're talking here.
Yeah. So Misery going to be the saving grace for him. And as you mentioned, snaking and farm some of the jungle camps. Gets a little bit lucky with the Satyr camp there, the 4 small Satyrs. He'll be able to farm that one up pretty quickly. But as you mentioned, a couple of deaths, but he is getting his levels. And that's certainly going to be at high value for them. They need the Empower for the Slark as it's, more or less a single core lineup, at least when you're talking carry potential. And they definitely need that RP for their team fight. Francis Lee and Misery going to get into a bit of a scuffle. Radiant do have the ward on the high ground. But it looks like we're just going to TP back out and all the way home to base for now. So Moon should feel safe for the next little bit, as should we in the mid lane with the Earth Spirit off the map, and everything going really well in this early game for the Thunderbird side.
Yeah, this setup for Thunderbirds, they're keeping their tabs on the enemy Earth Spirit, and of course no Earth Spirit means that Lina is going to be just fine over in mid up against CC&C. Sneaking.
Midas burning build on Resolution.
Ooh.
The Anti-Mage.
So
looking to even kind of amplify this early start he's got.
Yeah, I would say a 0-0-0 Anti-Mage, not a fan of that, but 2-0-0, sure, go for it. We over towards mid is going to get jumped. Living Armor is going to do very little to save him. He drops an LSA, but it's way too late. And that's what isGG wanted to do a very long time ago with this Earth Spirit, but forced to stay in this bottom lane means that Lina's able to have a slightly easier time, but a little bit late perhaps, but still a kill is a kill, and it's a much needed kill for CCNC. Is still working at pretty much parity with the Lina.
Yeah,
you expect that matchup.
Very well in the lane. But yeah, that's a really big kill to find. It does allow them to body Yawar off the lane though, bottom for a bit. So he misses out on a little bit of farm, but overall, good kill for isGG.
Anti-Mage level 6 now. If Magnus ever decides to return to this lane, there will be that finishing blow. What level is the Treant at? He's level 3 as well. Saxa playing the full babysitting role as he normally does, but also knowing that there's not much to worry about as far as opposition for the Anti-Mage means that this Treant Protector definitely has the luxury of moving him around a little bit more. He's going to jack yet another bounty rune. Is going to find a courier, see a courier. So he knows that there is someone in the area. He will be needed over in mid because isGG are rallying the troops. A couple of observer wards dropped down by the Dire though. I think just saw the tail end of Stan King or Flea.
Yeah. May have seen one of them, I think. We seems to be playing pretty safe, and they're missing off the map in general. Moon, I guess, has got his impale dodged by the Yawar pounce there, but just the kind of the nature of Yawar's play right now is tipping off, if nothing else, tipping off Wii in this mid lane. So doesn't look like they'll find anything just yet. They're also bringing in Misery as a bit of an insurance policy. Stan King, excuse me, does get found out by the Dire scan briefly. So they have at least eyes on one of the supports.
This is a pretty good early start here for the Thunderbirds, despite losing that Lina there. Still working with quite a few heroes, getting quite a bit of extra cash, and their supports also free to do pretty much whatever the hell they want. Misery hasn't really gotten a lot. The point of Warlock with this Nyx Assassin isn't really to poke at the Slark, it's mostly just to keep your Nyx Assassin safe. Just in case of emergencies, drop that Shadow Word down. Only level 1 spell, but we can already see how much healing and damage it's able to do in this game. Is now able to maybe get a little bit of lane here, as we was messing with the jungle a little bit, has a couple of stacks. You really do want to, at a certain point, shuffle out this Warlock, shuffle out someone in the lane, get the Warlock in there, but for right now it's going to be Moon in the most trouble. So many disables. He's just flattened before the Warlock can TP in. CCNC, it's classic rotation to the safe lane is going to get the team a much needed kill, but up towards top lane sneaking. Decided to go back towards top. Will survive the Mana Void, but will not survive the Anti-Mage.
Yeah, Saxa with that early point in Leech, he's really been able to punish Snake King. I mean, he would have had it at this point anyways, but already netting themselves a third kill, and as soon as he shows face in lane again for Snake King, unfortunately, he is going to end up taking a spill. CCNC able to grab away the regen rune from Moon, but that will be all she wrote for that little skirmish.
It looks like the lane that Misery is going to get for experience is going to be bottom, as the Nyx Assassin, well, he would rather be level 6 Vendetta-ing around the map right now and give Misery that free lane. Timing's a little bit off for Thunderbirds, but it's not really a terribly huge deal for these heroes. Moon going to get level 6, but this is in clear sight of isGG, so they know exactly what's going to happen now with this Nyx Assassin. As far as sentries are concerned, none on the deck right now for isGG. I assume Stan King is probably going to be picking some up soon. They should know exactly what's happening, because obviously it's level 6 Nyx Assassin. What can possibly be happening? For right now, though, they're still playing very confidently over towards the bottom lane. Yawar and Flea both spotted, and Moon Meander.
Yawar does have an ult. It's going to be a difficult kill.
It's double invis gank onto the Earth Spirit. As long as they don't miss the impale, they should have it. And he missed the impale. And the kick stuns too. He's going to roll into the trees, TP away. And Flea will almost go down to the mana burn, but gets out of there with the TP. And up towards top lane now, they got into resolution with the coil. That is not how that was supposed to go.
Yeah, really nice movement all across the map. And you can't blame Tbirds for going on the Earth Spirit there. I mean, Slark is a very difficult kill, but really unfortunate miss coming out from Moon Meander. Still, if Rezo drops there and they get the Earth Spirit, obviously the trade is in favor of isGG regardless, but the fact that they whiff on that kill, salt in the wound for Thunderbirds. So, well, clawing their way back in this early game is GG. They get the kill on Lina earlier on, and now they got a kill on Resolution, who was doing very well on his anti-mage, and is still atop the net worth chart by a wide margin. So very big kill for them to find.
Ooh, Flea kicks Saxa out of the rune, but he won't have the kick now for the Laguna Blade for Lina. Laguna to the face, a little bit of lightning. And Lina will take the free kill, has a haste rune, and is actually hunting for a Slark. Slark pounced out already, doesn't have enough mana for his ultimate, already used it. We unfortunately a little bit late for that one, but still, it's a nice kill for the Lina for sure. And now we have the little bit of a lane swap here. Lina will leave the lane to Misery for a little bit extra experience. We have Moon Meander, just waiting for that other Vendetta to come back online. But for right now, isGG, their Puck, level 9, pushing level 10, is doing so much more CCNC in this game than in the last. It's just the difference of having a average matchup versus a poor matchup. He's able to wander around the map as a Puck and start killing off some heroes, and that's exactly how he likes to play.
Yeah, and he's already put in a substantial amount of damage into this tier 1 mid lane, which is going to be really nice for them. We'll be able to phase shift out the LSA, gets the coil off onto Weak to try and keep him at bay, but the Chaotic Offering is going to be used. Looks like he didn't expect it there without phase shifting, but nothing tethered to him with the Fatal Bond, so CCNC will survive just fine for now. They'll look to get back into the fray as LSA will connect onto Yawar, but still no more follow-up damage for Wii. Looks like the Dire Observer Ward to the west maybe just didn't catch Yawar on the end. Wii, either way, not expending the Laguna Blade there. We'll take out the trees, has a couple of stacks of Fiery Soul, puts in a few right clicks here. Yawar, though, pretty healthy now. Well, I say that. And he cops a Dragon Slave to the face. CCNC now jumping in. No Dream Coil available to him, though. And everyone going to be able to back out for Thunderbirds.
Yeah, we just dumped his mana pool out very aggressively, spamming out that LSA and Dragon Slave both. And while that was happening, bottom lane was being slowly but steadily pushed by a Nyx Assassin. And of course, because it's just by a Nyx Assassin, the tower is still alive. But now Nyx, level 7, has that maxed out Impale. Can hurt even more if he does end up missing it. But is once again on the roam in top lane Rezo. With the, as you said, burning opening with that Hand of Midas. Still going to go for that Battle Fury, standard anti-mage, greedy anti-mage stuff. And oh wow, Moon found Yawar farming. And he went in at the perfect time as well, was able to keep in the shadows until the Slark committed to combat, so the Shadow Dance couldn't tip off the Slark. That's a big one for Moon to get solo.
Yeah, 490 experience for that kill. Huge kill for Moon, and not only that, but just to stymie the item progression and even experience progression of Yawar. And we mentioned how much of a linchpin Yawar is going to have to be to this lineup. He does have kind of the recovery available to him via the Empower, but really he needs to have a good game throughout. And currently sitting 5th overall on net worth is a bit, subpar, a bit less than ideal. Snake King top lane, scouted out by Saxa. Don't have a Chaotic Offering behind, so very difficult kill, but he will get his TP cancelled, and that's going to be a little annoying.
On the bottom lane, chain silenced before he can get his Spike Carapace off. We will get hit with the coil, but he'll teleport out of there just fine. Still a nice usage of silence, nice rotation again from CCNC, and getting Yawar a little bit of action, a little bit of skin in the game now, as he is able to get a good chunk of gold off of that Nyx Assassin. Is exactly what isGG need to do. I mean, the Empower is great and everything, is ready to go on Yawar, but accelerating him into kills, well, Misery got a little bit too close there. Does not have his ultimate, though. He does have Wii behind him. Lots of damage on Yawar despite going into that ultimate form. The Living Armor Misery is holding for right now, but with the Pact, he's actually juking pretty well, but there's no one incoming. Where's the help here for Thunderbirds? CCNC will throw the silence onto the Warlock, kill him off. Resolution of all heroes has arrived on a Stand King, will void the Rubik and get the kill. Thunderbirds looking for a little bit more. Moon Meander looking for that Impale onto CCNC, will land the combo perfectly. Chain Stun is there. Very, very narrow margins, but still works out well for Thunderbirds. Yeah. And it will be, a relatively even fight, but the Puck ultimately does fall, and that is a big one for Thunderbirds to get. Yeah,
over 400 experience up pop for Wii and Moon there, so really nice kill on the back end. And as you mentioned, they were getting Yawar some traction in the game, so really good rotation from CCNC, but perhaps just hanging around a little bit too long. As soon as Stand King goes down to the side there, to the anti-mage of Resolution, perhaps they look to back out. But I mean, Rezo, he had a 13-minute Battle Fury on top of his Midas. And, for context, Midas 30 attack speed, Power Tread's 25. So he's going to farm, just as quickly, essentially, as if he would have a set of treads here. But he will actually complete those up, as I mentioned it. So I'm going to have all that available to him here, sub 15 minutes in the game. And there is not going to be anyone on this map who can outfarm him.
It's just going to be catapulted into that next item. Most of the time it is Maybe that Manta Style, and in this game, Manta Style is going to be an absolute all-star. For right now, though, isGG are on to Resolution's antics, and they're going to jump in with the RP. He does have the Spell Shield, level 4, but there are so many stuns here. Resolution will get flattened by the kick, and it will be, again, a narrow margin kill for isGG, but a kill nonetheless on a hero that is worth so much more than anyone on isGG, and they're not done just yet. Saxa's still showing up. He's going to get surrounded by absolutely everyone isGG, losing a second hero now. Saxa probably could have seen that one coming. At least they'll get the tower on bottom lane, but losing AM and tree and tower mid is a big gain for isGG.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, this team is really fun to watch. It's almost like a mini Virtus Pro, the way they move around the map, like instantly as their heroes are ready to fight. CCNC bottom lane does have a Blink Dagger available. Ward going to be dropped down by Misery to try and ensure his escape here. So his retreat is going to cost them a bit of a crappy ward placement, but either way, he'll survive for the time being.
Trap on bottom. CCNC
is nearby.
He's gonna get stunned up. They have the chain stun and with the Laguna Blade and the rock. Easy kill. That's the talent working out for Lina right there. 125 cast range. In the meantime, Fleet is trying to flee. Not gonna happen versus the Dragon Slave. Not really sure what he and the Rubik were doing that deep in, but Stanking at least will get out of there. Has a haste rune and blink actually. So yeah, you're never catching up to that Rubik. But just like how isGG were able to pick off the Anti-Mage and the tree, it's pretty much returned the other way in an even exchange.
I don't know how the hell, I mean, he used it to kill off Resolution, so I'm not just noticing now, but I don't know how the hell Snaking managed to farm up a Blink Dagger in this game. And now he's got a Midas on top of it, 17 minutes in after, you know, easily the worst start in the game of all 10 players on the map. So very good job by him. I don't know if his farming patterns are incredible, but I have to watch this replay to figure out how he picks that up. Either way, I mean, Resolution, he's not really deterred too heavily. He's already back into farming and nearing a Yasha at this point, still with a wide margin ahead of the next competitor, net worth-wise, which actually is Snaking's Magnus.
And a super farmed Magnus is definitely valuable for isGG, but pales in comparison to a farmed Lina or a farmed Anti-Mage who can, it seems like single-handedly on either one of them win the game, although he's going to see two heroes jump in and pale chain stuns. Actually connect onto the Slark as well, which means no safety for Stanking. Jump in, skewer, and an RP. It's going to land onto everyone with the coil there as well. Huge team fight from Sneaking. Although the Bloodstone Suicide or the Death in the Lina will give them a little bit of extra juice. For Moon Meander mostly, he's still completely swamped, and he will fall. That's a 3 kill for isGG. Sneaking with the Blink Dagger is going to get a massive team fight off for the team. Yeah. That's the type of play you would expect if Thunderbirds didn't know about the Blink Dagger, but they should have definitely known. I mean, he used it earlier.
Yeah, he used it to kill off Rezo, so unfortunately they just get a little bit, you know, their eyes, their pupils widen a little too much when he hits that 2-man stun after the Dark Pact and locks down the Slark, so kind of baited in by their own Nyx Assassin. A nice play by Moon just ends up getting his teammates punished for it. Resolution was not there. You know, he's a big chunk of the team's net worth. I mean, they have a 3.7k net worth lead, and if you look at the Anti-Mage, he's 5k ahead of the next nearest core. So across the rest of their lineup, they really aren't leading much at all for Thunderbirds, and they were punished there in the mid lane. By a beautiful RP from Snake.
Skewered to the south, away from anywhere where he can juke. The Impale thrown out by the Rubik. That was actually a pretty slick attempt. Yeah. But he is able to shrug off most of that damage. Not that much mana here. He's going to blink forward, lands the stun onto the Magnus. Where's the help here for Moon? Sneaking is going to get overgrowth. Oh, and rocked. Okay, well, I mean, Magnus is worth the most, so I guess it is worth it in the grand scheme of things. When will he actually die, though? There we go. Blink in for the last hit. But in the meantime, Yawar picks off Wee, who was pushing really aggressively over in mid for some reason.
I guess he assumed most of the heroes, if not all of them, were top lane, but Yawar and Flea there to punish Wee for it. He doesn't get much done on the tier 2 as well. And top lane, perhaps Saxa in trouble. Moon Meander, he'll be the first to fall. Yawar now maybe looking to press forward for more. The Golem gonna expire in 20 seconds here, so still pretty healthy. Warren doesn't want to fight into that, and will find a nice little kill on the back end after picking up Lina in the mid lane. So Shadowblade already paying dividends here for Yawar. He's got enough for the ultimate orb as well if he wants to go straight into that silver red.
In the context of all of those trades, it was still Resolution pushing the bottom lane, and Anti-Mage with the items he has, level freaking 17. is no slouch when it comes to split push. Now he has the Manta style for safety as well, so the chain stun from isGG needs to be absolutely perfect. They're going to go in pretty deep and find themselves a free Warlock kill. Not bad at all for Yawar. That's going to be the Shadow Blade upgrade right there for him. But yeah, he was able to take down a tower in bottom lane. Resolution is getting absolutely ridiculously farmed. But Thunderbirds are suffering quite a few losses as well. It is going to be the Anti-Mage pretty soon forced into these engagements with the team.
Yeah, the other thing to mention about the split push is that the living armor, I mean, we saw Moon survive quite a while there top lane, even though he got skewered away from the tower. And that's because the only thing they really have, if the Slark is not nearby, is the Magnetize to pop the living armor. So they really need Yawar to be there on that target with living armor up. And generally speaking, you know, against the split push, it'll probably be Snake King and CCNC dealing with that. So Yawar, you know, although very mobile, he kind of wants to be farming for most of that time. So we'll see if Rezo really ever kind of gets picked off. It feels like it's going to take a pretty big misstep on his part in order to die. Mid lane, though, with the RP available again, it looks like they're going to convene as a unit, are the Radiant squad. Stan King has a ward and a sentry to throw up on the cliff if need be. And he'll join up with his unit. Yawar, under the cover of Shadow Blade, barely missing the pounce on Misery. He's got the living armor. Will get canceled up by the Dark Pact. They got the Shrine as well, though. And not too much vision there on the rest of the heroes. They will look to go down to the south. And man, they're playing it safe for now, seeing that they got dewarded, knowing there's a sentry there. Is he going to use his combo near a wave? Maybe this makes him... Looks for the TP out. Moon gets the stun off. Mana burn is there, but will just back out and be a little bit of a nuisance.
Well, a little bit of a nuisance actually means that Resolution is going to be able to claim this tier 1 tower up towards top lane with no resistance. It is a tier 1 at this stage in the game up against an Anti-Mage, so you can't really expect it to live for that long, but Thunderbirds doing a pretty good job at backing out of an engagement that they were never going to win. If they had another 30 seconds, or if that fight happened another 30 seconds after a Chaotic Offer and the Warlock, it definitely would have been worthwhile for the team to try to go for, but you're really in no rush. You know that your team is farming so much faster than the enemies. You have an opportunity on CCNC. They end up stunning him with Spike Carapace. Chainsaw for the Lina is perfect. And CCNC threw out the orb for safety, but it was just a little bit too late. They get a free pick off on a big hero, and Anti-Mage at this point with this Vanguard now is fully ready to fight, and they might have their fight right now as Yawar is going to walk straight into all of them, but Anti-Mage actually going to go for the Magnus instead. Overshoots a little bit, is going to get lifted up into the air, not able to do a lot of damage, but he'll finally get on top of the Magnus and pop him with the Void. And now onto Stan King. He has, well, no Blink stolen Roche stun. No, that would have been too hilarious, but Resolution out of the way just with the right clicks. Kills off the Rubik, and hey, look at that, there's a Roche here. So they're going to go ahead and kill him in a hurry. Thunderbirds now have a 17k net worth hero. Anti-Mage is done farming. He's ready to split some heads.
Yeah, Rezo, I don't know if they really have a true answer for him at this point. He's, you know, only 400 gold from his Basher, and then on top of that, he'll have an Abyssal Blade. So, I mean, at this point in the game, very difficult for them to deal with. And a really, you know, just kind of convenient timing as well for that that engagement to happen as they pick up the Roche on the back end. Moonmander's been doing quite a bit of work with his Blink Dagger. Still, though, the RP is available, so for at least the time being, they will respect that before going high ground.
Jesus Christ, Resolution's farm speed is out of control.
830 GPM right now.
That is actually silly. Level 20 also, so these talents, maybe not the most influential talents in the game, but hey, it's another big jump in power every single time he hits one of those points is going to be picked up pretty rapidly. There is a gem on the Earth Spirit.
Yawar walked in sentry range just briefly, but saw his passive disable and backed out. So without the Abyssal Blade, Rezo couldn't really turn on it.
Yawar is going to go for a butterfly. Anti-Mage will not have any sort of answer to that. Not for quite a long time. And I say quite a long time, given his farm speed. Who knows, he might just be able to whip up something. But for right now, Thunderbirds, a minute of downtime while they're waiting for their Chaotic Offering. It's a minute where Resolution, you know, it's probably going to get another item because of how ridiculous Anti-Mage is at this stage. And this is a fine game state for Thunderbirds to just kind of chill right now. I mean, even though they are going up against a Slark with Empower, Slark with Empower is, you know, pretty much even to Resolution with Battle Fury. So, yeah, they're happy with this game state as long as they don't get picked off by said Slark.
Yeah, pushing in all the lanes except top right now, so feeling pretty good about, you know, the potential of, or the limited potential of isGG to jump in on them. And they're just throwing anti-mage on the front lines. No one else really in any attainable vision here for isGG. Rezo still sitting on the Aegis, is also very tanky with level 4 spell shield and the Vanguard component of that Abyssal.
Oh, you are.
So it's very difficult to go in on top lane. Oh, LSA is going to connect, and it does be there after the Dark Pack, but he is able to get off the Shadow Dance. Saksa now chasing forward. Under the cover of Silver Edge's Yawar for now, snaking nearby, but no mana for the RP, so no real threat from this Magnus.
That was maybe a little bit of a surprising play there from Wii, as he was unable to, sneaking actually. Jumped by Moon, loses the vast majority of his mana, still has a TP out. Help is coming, but it's a little bit too far away. Can't get him. Yeah, I don't think we expected the Slark to still be there. Didn't expect him to be stunned, so he just wasn't prepped with the Laguna Blade, which I'm pretty sure he could have gotten off if he was fully expecting the Slark to still be there. So that, you know, maybe was a little bit of a missed opportunity there for Wii. But again, the same thing holds. They don't need to be chasing after these kills. They're great if they get them, yes. But not getting them is not a big deal, because in this passive game state, just see it in the graph, it's slowly but surely dipping more and more into the Thunderbird's favor. Anti-Mage even going to go for another fat item.
Scan.
It's Eye of Scotty, Anti-Mage build-up. Haven't seen this in a long, long time.
Scan is going to find Wii. They jump for him blind, but they will get him with the RP. Nice scan and TP up by CCNC to meet up with Snaking. And they do expend a lot for the kill, but they get the Wii Lina nonetheless, and that'll mean that probably for the rest of this Aegis duration, which is about 1 minute and 15 seconds, that high ground won't be attempted by the Thunderbirds.
Still, we see Thunderbirds jumping into action on bottom. Resolution immediately there. Destroys the creep wave, mid lane being shoved in by his allies as well, so what usually should be an isGG play of get Lina killed off and to take one of these many towers left standing is pretty much just take tower and then fall back with the vast majority of their heroes, because they're not going to win a race in structure damage versus Resolution. And Resolution, he's pretty bold right now, just going to walk straight up to the high ground, knowing that there's no RP. He's going to jump in, Abyssal onto the puck. Mana Void, not quite enough damage. The phase shift is going to get him a little bit of safety. They do skewer kind of the anti-mage, but he has the double life, and now here comes the Laguna, sneaks it in. And that will be the end of the puck. Aegis is going to be popped here by the Anti-Mage. Warlock chain stun onto the Slark is perfect. And they'll force out the Slark's buyback as well. That's a 2-0 so far. Thunderbirds with this Golem, with the Farm of Resolution. Don't have a Laguna Blade, but they will have a tower. And they will have a little bit of extra damage here. Going into the structures, Saksa looking for an opportunity onto Yawar. There is a sentry on the deck, so he has to be careful about how close he gets in. Is going to get jumped first thing. Pounced as well. Solar Crest doing a little bit of work for his survivability. Now Moon jumps in. It's a huge impale. A Ravage, in fact, onto 3. That's going to let Wii clean house onto 2 heroes immediately, forcing out a buyback onto the Rubik, as they will secure the Rack's bottom. Moon has been having a little bit of difficulty with these impales, but that one, that is what you want, man.
Yeah, I mean, I called isGG kind of the pseudo Virtus Pro earlier on, but Resolution showing us that he's only true CIS player in this game, blinking forward all by himself, now snaking down into the LSA, and he'll be cleaned up. Yawar, if he dies here, that's no buyback. Laguna Blade connects, blink forward from Rezo, he finishes him off. 80 seconds on the sideline, no Slark, 2-man buyback out from their side, and the RP only connects onto 1. Resolution, they cannot kill him off. And knowing that that doesn't land perfectly, they throw in the towel. Rezo gonna end it with an ultra kill. And there you have it, folks. Pubs are officially ruined. Again, Midas Anti-Mage winning the game.
Yep, so let me know when your Anti-Mage at 30 minutes picks up his first item, the Battle Fury, and you guys will be enjoying that one for a little while. But Resolution had just such a good matchup with this Anti-Mage. No one is able to apply pressure to him. The Magnus is just not really one of those heroes. Can't passively beat him in lane, especially if he dies a handful of times. There's just no competition there. And this result is the 2-0 at least I was expecting, but I was expecting Thunderbirds to be the ones on the losing end of it. They definitely showed up with their draft in this particular game. Even though there's a Slark up against the Nyx, which is usually a pretty good matchup, the matchup you want, it seems like they just had so many winning lanes in this one, and the heroes from isGG just couldn't get enough action and ended up dropping 2-0, the team that they previously beat 2-0 just yesterday.
Yeah, the last picks, particularly in both drafts. The Tinker in game one really held them in game. The Anti-Mage in game two was the safe laner that Earth Spirit couldn't kill early on. So, yeah, really good drafting, I think, overall. Play wasn't bad as well from Thunderbirds, but I think maybe isGG, at least in game one, even showed that they can certainly hang with the big boys in terms of at least execution. But today, yeah, as you mentioned, Thunderbirds coming back to play, avenging their 2-0 loss from today with a 2-0 win.
Well, guys, we're going to have another awkward break, having another 2-0 game, but in, what time is it? 9, 10, in about 50 minutes, we're going to have the last game of the night. Another best of 3 for the Summit 7 American Region Qualifiers. It's going to be Digital Chaos going up against Infamous. So that one should be pretty darn interesting. Didn't DC just have like a little bit of a... Well, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it when the game actually occurs. Guys, I'm Mike Loris. I've been joined by MRP Dota. Be sure to stick around for the next game. Other than that, follow us on Twitter at Mike Loris for myself, at MRP Dota for my co-caster. We'll be right back in 50 minutes for the next game.